Nia Thompson had never wanted to be noticed, at least not in a room full of Seoul's elite. But tonight fate had other plans. As a waitress at the annual luxury gala, she maneuvered carefully between glittering gowns and towering glasses of champagne, trying not to spill a single drop. It was supposed to be a simple night of work. Simple. Until it wasn't. When a particularly haughty guest brushed past her with a smug smile, Nia's patience snapped. The glass slipped, splashing across a tailored suit. She looked up, ready to apologize, only to meet the most piercing, unreadable eyes she had ever seen. And in a reflex fueled by humiliation and anger, she slapped him. Art. Time seemed to freeze. The clatter of the gala faded into a muted silence, all eyes on them. The man she had just struck did not shout. He did not frown. He only stared, calm, calculating, as though her boldness intrigued him more than it offended him. "You," she began, chest heaving, but the words caught in her throat. He said nothing, only tilted his head slightly, and in that instant, a strange electricity crackled between them. Nia felt a shiver, one that had nothing to do with fear. The kind of shiver that whispered, danger, yes, but also fascination. Before she could retreat, the man leaned in slightly and, to her astonishment, extended a hand, steady, patient, almost inviting. Nia hesitated, her instincts screaming to run, yet something deeper, a pull she couldn't name, kept her rooted. The gala resumed around them, chatter and music filling the room again, but for Nia the world had narrowed to a single truth. She had just slapped someone extraordinary. Someone she couldn't stop thinking about. And somewhere deep down she feared and hoped that this was only the beginning. The streets of Seoul felt colder than usual as Nia hurried home after the gala. Her mind replayed the moment over and over, the piercing eyes, the calm demeanor, the way he hadn't reacted with anger. Most people would have yelled, sued, or at least demanded an apology. But him? Nothing. Only intrigue. Nia shook her head. "It's ridiculous," she muttered. "I don't even know him." And yet, the memory of his gaze lingered, stubborn as winter frost. Meanwhile, June Kim watched her from afar. The city lights glinting off his tailored coat did nothing to soften the sharpness of his expression. Most people were predictable, cowardly, or shallow. But not her. Nia had slapped him, unafraid of consequences, unbothered by status, and she'd done it with fire in her eyes. It was a rare quality, one that made him pause, something he hadn't done in years. The next day, fate intervened again. Nia was struggling to carry a tray of drinks at a small cafe near her apartment when a sudden stumble sent glasses clattering to the floor. Before she could catch herself, strong hands steadied her. "Careful," he said softly. Nia froze. Her pulse quickened. The familiar, impossible calm. It was him. "June?" she whispered, astonished. He smiled faintly, just enough to disarm her, and offered her a hand to steady her. The brief contact lingered longer than necessary, their fingers brushing. It wasn't romantic in the obvious way, not yet, but it carried something heavier. Recognition, trust, the unspoken weight of curiosity. As Nia met his gaze, she realized the pull between them was undeniable. He was dangerous, yes, though she didn't know how. Yet in that fleeting hug-like moment she felt strangely safe, even cherished. And for June, that moment cemented a quiet resolve. He would see her again. Somehow. Because Nia Thompson was not someone he could forget. Days passed, but Nia couldn't shake the memory of him. The calm confidence in his gaze, the way he seemed completely unbothered by her boldness. She tried to tell herself it was just a fleeting encounter, nothing more than a strange night at the gala and a moment in a cafe. Yet every time she walked past the same streets, she half expected him to appear. Fate, it seemed, had its own plans. June appeared again, this time at the cafe where Nia worked. He was dressed casually, unrecognizable to anyone else, yet the way he moved, measured, careful, made her heart skip. He didn't immediately approach, instead he ordered quietly, scanning the room as if taking it all in. Nia's hands trembled slightly as she brought him his drink. "Here's your coffee," she said, trying to sound casual. He looked up, his eyes catching hers, and for a brief moment the bustling cafe melted away. There was no mafia boss here, no dangerous underworld, only him standing there, calm and observant, and her inexplicably drawn to him. "You've been busy," he said softly, a hint of amusement in his voice. "I'm always busy," she replied, forcing a smile. But when a customer's rude comment jolted her, she froze, and he was there instinctively, placing a hand lightly on her shoulder. The contact was brief, yet it carried warmth, safety, and something unspoken. A tiny smile broke across her lips as she realized this was more than curiosity, it was connection. A hug in another world, if only in feeling, had already passed between them. As June left, Nia caught herself watching him disappear into the crowd, feeling the pull stronger than ever. She didn't know what he wanted or why, but a part of her already knew this was just the beginning. And for June, seeing her again confirmed what he had already suspected. Nia Thompson wasn't someone he could walk away from, not easily, not ever. Life rarely allowed Nia a moment to breathe, but lately even her busiest days felt lighter, haunted by thoughts of him. June Kim, the man she had slapped, the man who had steadied her, the man she couldn't stop thinking about, lingered in her mind like a secret she wasn't ready to share. Yet reality had a way of intruding. Whispers of his world reached her, rumors of danger, power and wealth that she couldn't understand. She wanted to push it from her mind, but curiosity gnawed at her. Who was he really? Why did her heart race every time she thought of him? June, meanwhile, observed from a distance. Every time she laughed with her co-workers, every small act of kindness toward strangers, he felt a pull stronger than he expected. She was genuine, fiery, unafraid of the world, a world he had spent years hiding from. Protecting her became instinctual, almost reflexive. Their next meeting was quiet, unplanned. Nia had slipped on the wet pavement outside the cafe, her tray of pastries threatening to topple. June appeared instantly, catching her with steady hands and pulling her close. Not a word was spoken, but in that hug, firm, reassuring and unyielding, she felt a safety she'd never known. Her pulse slowed and for a moment the dangers of the world seemed distant. "I've got you," he said softly, almost a whisper. Nia looked up at him, searching his eyes, and for the first time she realized there was more to him than rumors or appearances. She didn't need to understand everything. She only knew that somehow he made her feel seen. And for June, that moment crystallized a truth he hadn't expected. Protecting her wasn't just about power, it was about love, even if he didn't yet dare to name it. Nia's life had begun to feel like walking on a tightrope, between her work, her dreams, and the strange pull she couldn't ignore. She had thought she understood June Kim, the man behind those unreadable eyes. But tonight, a glimpse of a world she hadn't anticipated nearly knocked her off balance. It was a friend's private dinner, a quiet gathering, nothing like the gala. Nia was serving drinks when she noticed him. June, moving with the same effortless calm, yet surrounded by people whose glances betrayed power and fear. Her stomach twisted. This wasn't just a mysterious man. This was someone with a world she didn't belong to. A folded piece of paper slipped from his pocket and fluttered to the floor. Nia bent to pick it up, curiosity winning over caution. She glanced at it, just long enough to see the name of a corporation she recognized as notorious in certain circles. Her heart skipped. This was more than she had bargained for. Before she could process, June's hand was on hers, steadying the paper. "Curiosity is dangerous," he said softly, eyes unreadable yet gentle. Nia blinked, unsure how to respond. He smiled faintly, not condescending but protective, like he understood her world, and wanted to keep her safe within it. Without thinking, she allowed herself to lean into him briefly, a silent hug, a grounding moment in a night full of uncertainty. In that small contact, she felt more than comfort. She felt trust forming, fragile but real. She didn't know everything about him, she might never, but in that instant she realized she wanted to understand him. And June, feeling her weight against him even briefly, knew he could not walk away. Protecting her, keeping her close, was no longer just instinct. It had become necessity. Some secrets he knew were dangerous, but some connections were worth every risk. Life, Nia realized, had a way of testing the heart just when it dared to hope. The streets of Seoul no longer felt safe, at least not entirely, and she couldn't ignore the shadow of unease that followed her. Rumors of danger, men she didn't know, words she didn't understand, tugged at her curiosity and her fear in equal measure. June Kim's presence, once a strange comfort, became a protective shield she hadn't asked for but couldn't resist. He appeared at her workplace unexpectedly, placing himself between her and a group of unruly customers. His hand rested lightly on her shoulder, steady and reassuring. She felt a warmth that went beyond physical touch, a silent message. "You are safe with me. I've got you," he said quietly, eyes locking with hers. It wasn't just about keeping her safe, it was about letting her know he cared. Later, as they walked through a quiet alley, June's grip on her hand tightened ever so slightly, drawing her closer. The world around them was sharp with unseen threats, but in that moment the danger receded. Their brief, instinctive hug became a sanctuary, a pause where neither needed to speak to communicate trust. Nia's heart fluttered with conflicting emotions, fear, curiosity, and an undeniable attraction she could no longer ignore. She realized that, somehow, she had begun to rely on him. Not just for protection but for the comfort of his presence, the reassurance of his touch, the calm strength in his gaze. And June, sensing her growing dependence, felt something he hadn't in years, a desire to protect not just her life but her heart. Every hug, every fleeting touch, was a silent promise. Even in the midst of danger, one truth became clearer than ever. Some connections were stronger than fear. The city never looked so bright and threatening all at once. Nia walked beside June, trying to ignore the rumors that had reached her ears, whispers of power, danger, and secrets she couldn't yet grasp. She had sensed there was more to him than she knew, but nothing could have prepared her for the truth. "I need to tell you something," June said quietly, his usual calm tinged with something heavier, seriousness, concern, a hint of fear. Nia looked up, heart racing. "I'm not who you think I am," he continued. "I'm more dangerous than you realize." Her breath caught. "What do you mean?" "I am the man you slapped at the gala. The man you've been seeing all these days." He paused, searching her eyes. "I'm the boss of the most feared organization in Seoul." Shock froze her. Fear and disbelief clashed in her chest. She stared, unable to speak, imagining all the dangers that could have been waiting for her. And yet, despite the fear, a strange calm settled in, because even knowing this, she still felt the pull toward him, undeniable and stubborn. June stepped closer, closing the space between them. "I didn't tell you sooner because I wanted you to see me for who I am, not my reputation. I care about you, Nia. Not the power, not the wealth, you." Nia's defenses faltered, and without thinking she stepped forward, letting him wrap her in a long, reassuring hug. His arms were firm, protective, and gentle all at once. She felt the weight of his honesty, the depth of his care, and the silent promise of safety. "I don't care about your world," she whispered. "I only care about you." For June, that hug was more than comfort. It was proof. Love wasn't about status, danger, or power. It was about connection. And for the first time in years, he allowed himself to believe in forever. After the revelation, the world felt different for Nia. The streets of Seoul still buzzed with life, but now every glance, every step carried weight. She knew the truth about June Kim, the feared Mafia boss, and yet the man standing beside her felt human, vulnerable, and achingly real. They met in the quiet of the park one evening, away from prying eyes and judgment. Nia could see it in his expression. The careful control he usually maintained was slipping. His shoulders relaxed slightly, his hands unclenching as he faced her. "I've never done this before," he admitted softly, voice low. "Trusted someone fully without walls. But, with you I want to." Nia's chest warmed at his words. "June, you don't have to hide from me. I can handle more than you think. You don't need to carry everything alone." He stepped closer, and this time their hug was deliberate. It wasn't just protection, it was reassurance, a silent exchange of trust and care. She rested her head against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. The dangers outside could wait. Here they were just two people learning to hold on to each other. "I've spent years surrounded by power and fear," he murmured, "but I never felt safe, not like this. Not until you." Nia tightened her embrace, her arms around him firm but gentle. In that moment, vulnerability wasn't weakness. It was connection. The night stretched on, quiet and unbroken. And for both of them, the hug wasn't just an act, it was a promise. A promise that no matter what the world threw at them, they would face it together. In June's arms, Nia realized she was home. And for the first time he allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, forever wasn't impossible. Seoul streets had never felt so tense. Rumors of rival factions and hidden threats hovered like shadows, and Nia could feel the weight of danger pressing closer with every passing day. She wasn't just a bystander anymore. Being near June Kim meant being part of a world she had only glimpsed, and it terrified her. June noticed it too. Every glance she cast over her shoulder, every tight grip on his arm, reminded him of the stakes. Protecting her was no longer just instinct, it was urgent. And yet, the more danger surrounded them, the deeper his connection to her grew. One evening, as they walked through a quiet alleyway after a late cafe shift, footsteps echoed too close behind them. Nia froze and June's hand shot to her back, guiding her close. Without a word, he pulled her into his chest. The hug was firm, urgent, and grounding, a silent shield against the unknown threat. Her heart pounded against his chest, but in that contact, fear and love collided. "I won't let anything happen to you," he whispered, his breath warm against her hair. Nia clung to him, feeling the truth in his words. She had chosen this dangerous world by simply caring for him, and now she refused to let fear control her. "I trust you," she murmured, letting the moment anchor them both. The footsteps faded, and though the danger had passed, the hug lingered. It wasn't just comfort, it was their unspoken promise. Together they could face anything. As they slowly pulled apart, their hands stayed intertwined. Nia looked up at him, determination in her eyes. "Forever," she said softly. June smiled, rare and unguarded, and hugged her again, tighter this time, as if the world outside could be held at bay simply by holding her close. In that embrace they found strength, courage, and the certainty that their bond was unbreakable. The city felt lighter somehow, as if Seoul itself had exhaled. The danger that had once lurked around every corner had finally passed, leaving space for something new: hope, trust, and the quiet promise of love. Nia walked beside June, her hand slipping easily into his. The world outside could be chaotic, but here, in their small bubble of peace, nothing else mattered. June glanced down at her, his usual calm softened by a rare warmth. "We've been through a lot," he said, voice gentle, almost vulnerable. "But I want this life, with you. No walls, no secrets, just us." Nia smiled, squeezing his hand. "I never wanted a life of danger, June. But I want a life with you. That's all that matters." They paused in a quiet courtyard, the city lights twinkling around them. Without words, June pulled her into a long, tender hug. It was more than comfort, it was a vow. Her head rested against his chest, and she could feel the steady rhythm of his heartbeat, strong, protective, and endlessly reassuring. "I'll always be here," he whispered. "Forever." Nia held him back just as tightly. "Forever?" she echoed. For a moment, the past, the fear, the secrets, the power struggles, faded completely. All that remained was them, together, strong in their trust and love. The world could wait. As they finally pulled apart, hands still entwined, they knew this was only the beginning of their forever. Whatever challenges came next, they would face them side by side, hearts intertwined, unshakable. And to everyone watching their story unfold, remember, sometimes the strongest love is built on courage, trust, and the simple power of holding someone close.